Hi, everyone. Welcome to Meetup with MeLa. I am here today with a special guest that I'm very excited to introduce you all to. Her name is Hillary Lima, and she is running as councilwoman for the District 4 of Coventry, in Coventry, Rhode Island, District 4. And we're very excited to have her on today. Welcome, Hillary. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to joining the show and talking a little bit about local politics and women in politics for sure.
Yes, definitely. So I asked Hillary to come on to meet up with MeLa today in regard to again this month of March, talking about Women's History Month, and obviously giving tribute to the amazing women I know. Hillary is obviously included in that list. So I reached out to her and really wanted to talk to her about being a candidate currently, and basically what goes into running for this this councilwoman seat and how all that's going, and definitely hope to ask her some questions and hopefully get her some support over this podcast. So I'm definitely excited to have her on. I do want to let you know that I'm also going to be putting, as always, on the bottom all of my social media information. So you can find Meetup with MeLa on Instagram as well as Facebook. You can find all my episodes, including this one, on Meetup with MeLa on YouTube. And Hillary also has her information as well. She has a Twitter of Hillary Lima RI. Also has the website, I'm sorry, Hillary, it is Hillary For Coventry on your actual website. And you have a Facebook and Instagram page, which is, I'm just waiting for it to scroll here, Hillary For Coventry as well. So no, thank you so much. And we'll definitely be posting these as well in the comment section of the YouTube page. So definitely you know how to hit up MeLa as well as Hillary. So in order to get started, I definitely just want you to introduce yourself, Hillary. Just give us a little bit of like background information on you, and really what brought you to this point in terms of wanting to be a candidate and running for councilwoman in Coventry for District 4.
Sure, thanks. So Hillary Lima, maiden name Costa. I recently got married in 2019.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, I'm thankful every day that we just squeaked our wedding in before things got bad. I feel for anyone who's had to organize or postpone a wedding during all of this.
And reorganize it and reorganize. Yeah, I feel for people as well. I think it's been very trying, to say the least.
So expensive too. So to just kind of push that money around. But anyway, so I grew up in West Warwick. I graduated from West Warwick High School in 2010, went to Rhode Island College and got dual bachelor's degrees in political science and communication, and graduated in 2014. At Rick, I met my husband.
Okay.
And so college sweethearts. And then from there, I went to my first job working at Women and Infants Hospital in PR and marketing. And then from there, had roles at CVS Health, the corporate headquarters in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. And then was also at South County Hospital doing a similar role. Right now, I'm a senior account executive with a PR firm that's based in Providence, working from home, and have been since everyone was on that fateful March day.
Yes.
And just to, I've in the background of all of this has always been politics, and specifically the local scene. I have really vivid memories of my mom taking me to school committee meetings when I was in elementary school or middle school, and was fascinated by the process then. And at a young age really had an understanding of the impact that a select group of people can have on large groups of people. So I always had an interest. I remember my first campaign was when I was 15 or 16, stuffing envelopes for someone who in my neighborhood was running for state rep.
Okay.
And, from there, I just never stopped. So when I was in college, I was a Senate page at the Rhode Island State Senate. And then at the session year after that, I was an intern working with some senators on their committee meetings. So making policy briefing packets, or a fancy way of saying background information. If a senator was sponsoring some legislation that needed to be heard before a committee, So really in the weeds of the process and the bureaucracy that's behind making a bill become a law. So so that was kind of my start. And then also while I was at Rick, I climbed the ranks of student government. And so starting as parliamentarian or speaker of parliament, and running meetings, to going to vice president and then to president of a student body of close to 10,000 students.
Wow.
So and student government at Rick is different because it's a body that's incorporated separate from the college. So when the college would hand over $1 million plus in student activity fee money, that was the students to decide how it's spent and distributed, and no one else alone.
Wow, that's really interesting, because I was actually a student senator, now that I'm thinking about it, when I was at URI as an undergrad, and I don't remember obviously that being the case. It seemed like there was a much different process.
We always would talk about that. At URI, there's much more faculty and administration involvement in their student senate, but at Rick, any faculty or administration involvement is purely advisory. Like they're there at the meetings, and they're there to provide updates or advice, but otherwise they have no vote or position on how to tell students to spend that money.
Okay.
So that was a huge stepping stone and a learning opportunity to understand. I consider that a microcosm of the real world. And we talked about real issues. We talked about why is a student activity fee paying to replenish feminine hygiene products in bathrooms? Why is that a student activity fee? Why is it up to the students to pay an extra fee for extended library hours at finals and midterm time? Like, talking about campus police and having guns. Like, we talked about real heavy stuff. So that was a good start. And not to mention, when you're involved in student leadership at a public university like that, you're introduced to a lot of people. You meet a lot of people at the state level and at the administrative level. So that was a really good start.
And you're also representing, I'm sure, a lot of different people too. I mean, you have continuing education students, you have students that are local to Rhode Island, out of state, international students. So you're also trying to do your best to really make sure you're, making decisions within the best interest of everyone that you're trying to represent at that point too. So it's a lot. It's a lot, definitely.
And I'm finding that I'm pulling upon some of my skills and my experiences there, because one of the things that everyone knows about Rick is, because it's mainly a commuter school, there's some apathy on behalf of the students in getting involved and really giving that campus feel or getting that campus experience. And so right now in Coventry, what's led me to really sit up is we've now, as a town, voted to reject 3 budgets in a row for FY21.
Okay.
So, and then on top of that, out of a town of I believe about 27,000 registered voters, we're getting only about 1,200 people to vote.
Wow, that's really
So not
very little.
Not only are we getting rejection 3 times, so people are sending a message that way, but 2, you're having a very small sample size of people determining the future and the direction of the town. So something here is not right.
There's a major disconnect, or people are disengaged.
And then, some other major issues that made me really sit up as someone who's a relatively new homeowner was hearing the conversations about, and this will be important to a lot of Coventry viewers of your show, is the mandated sewer program that's in process.
Okay.
Some people, as someone who's in phase 1 of the program, I'm very alert. And, we're seeing people in what's considered a very working class, blue collar neighborhood of District 4 receiving estimates for their sewer installation of almost $40,000.
Oh my gosh. Yes. That's that.
And for a neighborhood like this, in the middle of a pandemic and an economic recession where those people some have lost their jobs, it just doesn't seem like a taxpayer-centric process, right? So, but it doesn't stop it there. There's other pieces that just don't, there feels like a disconnect as well. At one point, it was proposed that there would be a 6% interest rate on these loans, which is astronomically high for something like this. Currently on the table, and it's trying to be removed right now, they want to charge residents for the repaving costs after they put the sewer in. I mean, that's like if
Wow.
National Grid wanted to charge you every time they did work underground in your street. It just doesn't
And you
happen.
have like no kind of say in that, I'm sure. I mean, it's like,
Yeah,
I mean, what is that even going to cost? What does that mean? I mean, does it mean that you can even afford to stay in your home and pay taxes and everything?
exactly.
And that's very, yeah, that's huge.
People
That's a lifestyle. That's a
people
huge
have a
lifestyle change.
people have a set budget. They're living paycheck to paycheck. And I think that people see the benefit of sewers and they see what sewers bring for commercialization in the town and the business climate.
Hmm.
But it shouldn't be so overly burdensome that people are going to be paying off this installation and these fees almost for the life of their mortgage.
Yes.
It's just, it just doesn't, I don't know. It feels like there's a huge disconnect there. That's one of the issues. The other issue is, and this rears its head in the rejection 3 times over of the latest budget, is the money going to schools. Everyone would agree that schools are the backbone of any thriving and successful community, and we can't cut our way to the top. And we need to invest in the education of our future and our children, and make sure they have warm, safe, and dry schools. Um, what we're seeing in Coventry, and we're seeing this quite frankly across the United States, is a decline in birth. And you, I know would understand that from your background. And that has to do with a completely different conversation. But we're seeing a sharp decline in enrollment in schools. We're seeing the population age, and it's getting older in Coventry. So people are thinking to themselves, why am I seeing the budget allocation go up if enrollment's going down? And so people are not understanding the process there when it comes to
Hmm.
budgeting for schools and allocating funds for the schools to run properly and be successful at that. And
Yes.
see and the district has seen improvements in its test scores, in outcomes, in supporting their students with special needs. So it's really at the crux of all of this is just more transparency and communication with the electorate, and helping them feel like the power is back in their hands to
Yes.
to make informed decisions. And that's why a lot of my literature says the word empower.
Hmm.
Because I want people to know that, if I can understand this and I'm figuring this out, so can you.
Hmm.
I'm also one of those people that doesn't believe all of the onus is on the taxpayer to figure this out. I think that
Exactly.
it's beyond just sitting in council chambers and saying, well, this meeting's publicly recorded and posted, so you guys are all set. I think there has to be that boots on the ground, grassroots effort to campaign, and get people informed and introduce yourself, because respect and support is not guaranteed when it comes to representing somebody
Hmm.
and their livelihood and their ability to afford to live.
Oh,
Is this
absolutely. Absolutely. And as you know, and I've told you, Hillary, I grew up in Coventry all my life until probably I was trying to think now, probably until I was about 30. And then I had moved to Providence. Definitely. So my heart is still in Coventry. My mom still lives in Coventry. We have many lifelong friends and family, friends that have become family that live in Coventry as well. So definitely Coventry is a town that's very near and dear to my heart. My sister graduated from Coventry High School. And again, it's definitely, my son grew up primarily half of his childhood in Coventry. So again, like I know that, there's a lot of different needs there. I know the needs have actually changed. I'm sure shifted a bit since I've been gone over the last 10 years, but at the same time, I mean, what do you feel like is the biggest need right now in terms of your district? Like, is there something specific to your district or overall, even the town, that you think is unique to you and what you're hoping to address?
I think it's two things specifically, and they kind of dovetail into each other. One is someone who's just going to pick up the phone, someone who's going to answer an email.
Yes.
That's what my district needs, and that's what every district needs and deserves in Coventry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's number one. And I'm not taking a shot at anybody who's been in this seat before me. I'm just based on going door to door so far. That's a specific
Mm-hmm.
need. Another need, I think, and this is low hanging fruit. It just takes a little elbow grease, and that's some boosts in community morale and some quality of life. So getting groups together to do Earth Day cleanups and picking up trash in local parks. Um, having working with the Parks and Rec department to put on programming for families,
Yeah.
uh, coming together around, say, the high school seniors as they have had this last school year that's supposed to be the most eventful and memorable taken away from them. Let's support them in getting a prom. Let's support them and honor them in a special way because they can't have ceremonies like they normally would be able to. Um, and so, and maybe let's bring back when it's safe a music series where people can pull up a bag chair at the gazebo in town and listen to
Mm-hmm.
some live music. I think having someone who brings those elements back into town, that those kinds of things are public facing and they're huge for morale and confidence
Yes.
and pride. And I
Mm-hmm.
think those two things to me are a good start. Beyond that, like I've talked about, the undertones of transparency and awareness and taking that extra step to connect with people. There's a lot of cynicism and doubt and apathy right now as far as political participation from the electorate, and we need to get back to that. Um, and people feel kind of burned from the past and the last 10 years or so, but we can't move forward if we don't move forward together. So
Yes.
that's what we need to focus on next.
And why would you say, like, what made you decide to, throw your hat in the race in terms of being a candidate for councilwoman of District 4, and why is this important to you?
I've always been a bridesmaid but never a bride. I've always worked on campaigns and supported others but never been a
Except for
candidate.
2019, you were a bride, so yes,
Yes, except,
until
um,
2019,
yes,
yes.
until 2019. But
Yep.
I just and I when the councilman resigned, because this is of course a special election. No one's normally running for office in the middle of winter.
Mhm.
Um, I kept saying, I don't know if it's the right time. We're still settling in, and he said, is it ever going to be the right time? And I said, no, probably not.
Yeah.
And that, and as a couple that's planning to have children soon, we have a really vested interest in what the school system looks like and the town financials look like. So those were big pieces to me. And I mean, beyond that, I just have memories of sitting in meetings when I was a kid and seeing all men. And I'm sure you can equate this. Um, and I want to be, and I, people are going to doubt me because of my age and say, well, what do you know? You've barely been paying taxes or something to that effect. But, um, you know, I'd like to think that one, my young age, and two, my gender would inspire those little Hillarys out there who are
Yes.
sitting in those meetings, um, to think about running or getting involved, and fighting past what I would say a lot of women face, as opposed to men, that imposter syndrome of feeling like you have to be overqualified to do any of these things, or
Hmm.
oh, I don't know, or I have to be home, or there's so many excuses we make when it comes to being a woman and looking at positions of leadership, and we have to push past that and embrace the
Hmm.
fear and just take a leap. So that I would say that's the biggest piece. And I've seen what the impact that it has, for those who are office holders and have children. And I want that dynamic for my family. I see how those kids look up to their parents and they understand the process. And I've always enjoyed that. But um, the other, I mean, at a larger picture, if all goes well and I'm elected in May, this will be a council of 4 women and 1 man, um,
Wow.
which is unheard of, I think,
Yes,
especially for Rhode Island. I don't know anywhere else that's like that, but that'll be huge. And
definitely.
and to me, I don't see it so much as women serving the town of Coventry, but more so, I'm hoping people see it. And it's a range in age too. We've got older women, we've got women who have children, and then myself. So it's just all about setting an example and finally shattering another glass ceiling, if you will,
Yes.
for female leadership and involvement and representation.
Definitely. Representation is huge. And one of the quotes that I had recently referenced was, especially in lieu of Women's History Month, is, as far as women go, may we be them, may we know them, may we raise them, right? May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. And again, I think in terms of, we're in a day and age that we want our girls to know that anything is possible, that their voice matters, that they do have a seat at any table that they decide to sit at. And I think that's, the messaging that you're giving right now is huge to that, because again, it's not about, I think we need to think about things. If you're qualified, you're qualified. It's not about age. It's not about color. It's not about gender. It's not about, any of those things, sexual orientation. And I think, again, we need to let our girls know. We also need to let our boys know that this is, acceptable practice, and hopefully, as they get older, they wouldn't think anything different of a woman taking on these roles, and men taking on certain roles as well that have been traditionally roles that women have inhabited. So I think, again, what you're doing is just great. And one of the things that I actually want to feature here as well, Hillary, it sounds like, again, like you mentioned, you really have had quite a history in terms of, wanting to be in politics. And I have some pictures here, and I want you to, if you don't mind, just sort of describing some of these pictures that I'm going to show, and just basically, talk about some of these events and how it's led you to today.
Yeah, for sure. So this was August of 2013, I believe. And I was a student body president then. And I was giving a speech to the freshman class and talking to them about what it means to be at RIC, and what comes with being a RIC graduate and a RIC student, because it's different. RIC students are they're working, they're supporting families. They're your non-traditional student, and they work hard to get through and get their education. So I wanted to show them how important it was and what it means to be a RIC student and a graduate. So that was a lot of fun.
And you look very official there too. I was going to say, like, definitely, like we should have a thing like the other Hillary for president, right? At some point that will have to be like your tag. No, you definitely look very official.
I thought I was all that in a bag of chips, and so this wasn't a thing. Like, normally people who were in student government would just, wear whatever a college student would wear. But I showed up to meetings in pantsuits. Like, I was like Hillary Clinton. I showed up in pantsuits and tops with the ruffles.
Nation. Yeah.
And every single meeting, and these meetings were every other Wednesday at 7:00. And even if I didn't need to wear a suit that day, I brought it in like all ironed and hung it up in my office in the student union. Like, I was ready to go. Like,
I love that, because I also feel like so much about how we come to the table, it does mean something. And I think it sets the tone, it sets the tone for yourself, but you're realizing, like, I'm taking this seriously, and I'm going to make sure other people take me very seriously. I am a woman with a mission, and I'm unapologetic about that. So I definitely love that. And here's another one.
Yes, another one of me in my pantsuit and with my all ironed out. And this was, we had a vacancy. Someone had resigned for the role of deputy speaker, which would be kind of the assistant to the person who runs the meetings. And when we don't have that, we need the president of student government runs the election. So I still have that gavel. I love my gavel.
I was going to say, I've never been able to hit a gavel. That would definitely be like, that's on like my bucket list of things to do.
Yes, it has my full name engraved on it. I'll never get rid of that thing. But yeah, so that was another student government shot. And, I'm laughing just thinking about it, because I know what I'm like half smiling about there, but it's really good memories.
And we have this one here too.
Yeah, so this is a lot of people don't realize that when you want to run for office, it's not like when Michael Scott in The Office declares bankruptcy and he yells, "I declare bankruptcy!" You actually have to go and sign up to run
Okay.
for office, and this is part of the process. So to start, you have to go in and sign a form to declare that you want to run for office, and then right now I'm in the process of collecting signatures. So in order to officially appear on the ballot as a candidate in an election, you need to go around and collect a certain number of signatures from registered voters in the district. And they all have to be verified by the board of canvassers. And what that means is their signature that they provide on the form has to match their voter registration profile signature.
Okay.
And their address needs to be their voter registration address. And
Okay.
that address needs to be within that district. So you'd be surprised. Like a lot of people think they might be registered to vote or they're active voters or that their house is in a certain district, like they're convinced of it. But, on average, probably like maybe 5% or less of the signatures that you turn in are going to end up being invalidated for whatever reason.
Okay.
And I've been guilty of that. If I don't sign my name exactly how it is on my voter
I
registration
was going to
form.
say that's a huge thing for me. I sign it all different ways,
Yep.
especially because I have a long name. So sometimes I put, just my initials. Sometimes I'm
Mhm.
putting like a longer, more drawn out name. It sort of depends on the whole process. So yeah, once again, I definitely think like that's something I wouldn't even have thought of. So
Yeah.
that's definitely huge to know
Oh,
because
yeah.
yeah, I would want my vote to obviously count and matter. And then, so like the other thing is like, so say for you, like you have some people that they're like, hey, I haven't, had an opportunity to sign up. I do want to actually, give you my signature in terms of this. How would they go about doing that? Like, I mean, and how do you go about getting the signatures as well?
So
Like, how does that process work?
it's super grassroots. I have obviously have people who are hosting lawn signs for me throughout the district, and I know people that live here, grew up in the area. But
Yes.
otherwise, what's happening is, I'll put out a call on social media and say, please email me if you're willing to sign. And I want people to understand this is not them voting for me. This is to get me on the ballot. This is just for me to participate. But
Okay.
so what I do is I'll go visit these people. Like I'm driving myself there or I'm walking there and I'm getting their signature. And then a lot of the times when I'm on their stoop, I'll say, hey, are you friendly with any of your neighbors? Like, you want to walk me across the street and we can get their signatures too. So that's been my week. The past week is just going out there and meeting people who I already know and then seeing if they can connect me to their immediate neighbors.
Okay.
Because you're required to get 50 for town council, but as I mentioned, some of them could be invalidated. So you want to get more than that just in case. Um,
Okay.
and then not to mention, there's a process where the public could challenge these signatures. So if someone, I don't know whatever circumstance it might be, say they don't want me on the ballot or they want to, there's a period where someone could go into town hall, look at the signatures and say, I don't think that person lives in the district, or I don't think that signature
Hmm.
matches their voter registration, so there's a lot of nuance in just this portion of the process. But otherwise, but as it relates to getting signatures, it's super grassroots. Like today,
Okay.
after I finish my workday, I'm going out and I'm going door to door in my immediate neighborhood because I need a couple more signatures.
Okay.
And what sucks, for lack of a better term, is it's winter, so
Yeah.
I don't have the advantage of daylight. Um,
No.
so by 6 o'clock, it's starting to get dark, and now the darkness, the cold, and me wearing a mask in the middle of a pandemic compounds all of that, and people are less likely to open the door.
Exactly. And sometimes too, some people, like you said too, they might not be getting home till a little bit after,
Yeah.
even in like 6 o'clock at night. And at that point, you're trying to run in your place. I mean, earlier this week, the wind was like crazy. I mean, it's like, so again, I mean, we've been pretty lucky overall this winter. But at the same time, yes, it is winter. Like that, you definitely want to be warm and at home and, especially knocking on people's doors in a pandemic. Yeah, you definitely have a lot of challenges.
And to run is not cheap. I mean, I've been very fortunate to have support financially without a fundraiser. People have donated through digital means or sending a check in the mail, but a lot of people don't realize how much money it takes to run. So, like those lawn signs you see, just the sign alone is $6 and change, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The stakes that it goes into are a dollar and change. So if you add that, adds up.
Definitely.
Not to mention too, palm cards that you might see, like rack cards, those
Okay.
that you do door to door. For 1,500 of those, you're looking at like $500. Um,
Wow. Yeah.
so, and the same thing, like I mean, I'm going to be unopposed, all knock on wood. But if I'm in a competitive race and I wanted to send a mailer out to everybody in the district, I'm looking at about $1,200.
Yes.
So there's a lot of expenses that go with running for office too. And the fundraising part, not a lot of people like, and I'm included, because who likes asking people for money unless you work in philanthropy or something? But
Yes.
um, that's another difficult part, is normally people get to have a nice get together somewhere with food and drinks
Yeah, and you
and
get to meet people and invite people and talk to people and
yeah,
get to hear what they want to talk about. Yeah, definitely.
and that's another thing that has been taken away from this process. So, it hasn't been easy. This signature piece, it'll be at one hump that I'm happy to get over, and then it'll be hopefully smooth sailing from there.
So can you tell me some dates that are, like critical dates for you? Like, so what dates do you have to have the signatures by? And, when is the actual election?
Sure. So I have to turn in all signatures by close of business on Tuesday, March 9th at Coventry
Okay.
Town Hall, and that's 4:30 p.m. So I do have this coming weekend ahead, to be able to collect more signatures. And then beyond that, because there's no primary, the primary would have been April 6th, but there's no need to have that because of no other candidates in the race. My election will be May 4th. And it's really important. I want listeners to know that I still need people to come out and vote, because God forbid someone mounts some write-in campaign for Mickey Mouse and thinks it's a joke, and then legitimately I could lose, and then have to be another election.
Yeah,
Uh,
no,
so
and that's,
no,
I'm
so
sure, no joke in terms of, financially what you're saying, the investments that you've made, the resources that you've really put into this. Yeah, that's not a joke.
yeah, so still really would like people to come. I mean, the mail ballot process is available if that's how some people prefer to vote and don't want to leave their homes. The mail ballot application for the general election is actually available on my website, hillaryforcoventry.com, at the voter information tab. So people can go there and print that out and fill out that application, and then a ballot will come right to your door, no questions asked. And
Okay.
then if people want to vote in person, they'll be able to do so. Only one polling location will be open on election day, May 4th, and that's at the Coventry Senior Center, so far as I know. That may
Okay.
change. Right now, that's what's going to be.
But it sounds like that's pretty close to where your district is located as well.
Yeah, it's technically right over the line, I believe, but it's pretty close. I mean, my District 4 is pretty densely populated and more of an urbanized area of Coventry, if you want to say that about any
Hmm.
part of Coventry, but it's pretty centrally located, even for those folks on the other side of Tioga Lake near New London Ave. So
Exactly. And I think the other thing too is, like, I always like to say, is if you could reach out, if like a neighbor needs possibly a ride there, and you can mask up and be safe about it and give them a ride there, definitely that's amazing if people are able to, just think about that when it comes to getting to the polls. So the other thing I wanted to ask you, Hillary, is like, based on all your experience, I know in terms of even like your PR experience with public relations, I know that probably comes in as a huge asset to trying to get the word out and everything. What other unique skills do you have, whether personal, professional, that you feel like really makes you the best candidate? Obviously, I know that you're not running against anyone, but what do you feel like, will make you someone that will be a real asset to the district?
I'd say public speaking. I'm not afraid to speak in front of a large audience. I'm not afraid to. I'm also someone who I could connect with this baby Yoda doll behind me. I could find a conversation to have with them. But so I'm not afraid to have conversations with strangers. I'm really good at public speaking. I'm also someone who likes to listen to other people. I like to, I'm not someone who likes to be polarizing, and I don't gravitate toward polarizing people. And you know what? I think today it takes a lot of guts to be someone who says, well, I see both sides of an issue. And I'm
Hmm.
sure agree. And no, it seems like nobody can be middle of the road anymore. And I think that's something so far that when I've spoken with constituents, they appreciate is the people over politics. Um, the other piece too is, and I look forward to this and working with the school committee, is should that bond get passed for renovating the schools, or they're trying to, is the marketing piece of all of this and marketing the town of Coventry, and leveraging my skills in that sense to show what Coventry can be and has been.
Okay.
There's a lot of development going on in Coventry right now. There's affordable housing communities. We're going to be right up there in the top ranks of the state for affordable housing, which is good.
Wow, I didn't realize that. That's
Yes,
definitely great
and
and needed.
also, yeah, and also senior housing as well.
Okay.
Um, and then other kinds of housing like condo units or townhouses, those are also popping up. Same
Hmm.
thing with commercial development as well. We have some businesses in town that are expanding their footprint, and we have some that are starting new.
Which is
So
great.
yes, so there's an element there for amplifying that message and amplifying that activity, so the rest of the state knows what's happening, and we're not just happening in our own little bubble.
Yes.
Um, it also takes someone who's willing to say, "I don't know. I'm going to take the opportunity to learn more." I think
Yes.
too often people feel like they have to know everything, and I don't believe that's true. I recently did a radio interview on talk radio, and someone asked me, "How long do you think it'll take you to get up to speed on all the issues?" And I said, "I won't." And they made a face, and I said, being a successful representative of people and someone who's educated and willing to listen is a lifelong process. And as
Yes.
someone who's getting multiple degrees, you might understand education is a journey, it's not a destination.
No, definitely. And there's
So
so much that we have to lean on others in terms of we can be at the forefront of this. We can lead as best as possible. We can have the best of intentions, but it does take everyone to help us in that process,
mhm,
in terms of trying to lend their voice, lend whatever they can to wanting to really make this a better place and make things successful. So I certainly understand that. It's definitely there's always stuff we're not going to know. And the minute we think we do know everything, it's like definitely you have to go back, sit down because you realize no, you're missing something.
yep. And I'm never going to pretend to be that person that knows everything about everything.
No.
Uh, well, I know a little bit about a lot of things. Yeah. And I hope most people who want to represent and be in leadership for a locale, a municipality or higher
Hmm.
would. But let's not pretend that we all know everything, because we don't. And recognize that all of this is a journey, and we're just happy to be along for the ride and do the right thing.
Definitely. And can I ask you, like, who have you been able to lean on in this process? Who's actually even been a role model or role models for you for this, to even get to this point?
So, I've been involved in politics for a while, so I have a lot of people behind the scenes that have been very supportive. Unfortunately, there aren't too many female role models. I mean, it's a very small pool, as you probably know, but
Hmm.
I give a lot of credit to my college professor who was a teacher of mine, for my professional life in healthcare communications and also political communications. She's always pushed me to run and saw that I had a potential to eventually be an office holder. I've had friends who I've worked with in multiple different jobs that have always recognized that I'm one that doesn't sit idly by and speaks up when something's wrong. And
Hmm.
some other friends that I went to college with always knew that this was in my cards. But I wouldn't, and of course my parents too. I mean, they were
Hmm.
ones that always recognized I was different, always recognized that I was an old soul and spoke up in those adult conversations when I might have probably should have kept my mouth shut. But I and also my husband too. He before his position that he has now, he ran for office twice, and so and well, I'm sorry, more than twice. He ran twice in Cranston, and he also ran in his hometown of Tiverton.
Okay.
Um, he really showed me what it means to sacrifice and put other people first,
Hmm.
ahead of his own his own needs and his own professional career and personal life. So, that's really what's kind of been I have a tribe, I would say.
Yes, definitely. And it takes a village, as I always say. It definitely takes a village. It takes so many people coming across and learning from them and just taking as much as we can. So definitely, I want to show one last picture here, which is definitely a beautiful picture of Hillary. And I wish you nothing but luck in terms of your future moving forward. I know you have a bright future ahead, regardless of what happens in terms of this race. I definitely know there's nothing but positive things ahead of you. But I'm really confident that you'll be a councilwoman very soon in May. And I can't wait to hear more about that. And I hope that the Meetup with MeLa show, we can have you on once you get some experience under your belt and see how it's going. Do you have any last words or anything, Hillary, in terms of just getting the word out? Hopefully the biggest thing right now is getting the signatures, getting
Yes.
people out on election day, and definitely just if you get into the position, which sounds like I have every faith that you will, that people just engage with you, let you know what needs to happen. Anything else that you can think of?
The biggest piece is if anyone out there is in District 4 or knows someone in District 4, which is that southeastern corner of Coventry that encompasses Tyoke Lake, Center of New England Shopping Center, and most of Tyoke Avenue's business district, please reach out, whether it's on Facebook or at any of the socials below,
Yep.
or via email at contact@hillaryforcoventry.com. And that's 2 L's in
Okay.
Hillary. So that's huge. I'm confident that the batch that I turned in this morning will yield some good results, and I'll only need a few more, but you never know. So any help in that respect would be greatly appreciated. But on the other hand, I'm here to serve. So feel free to use any of those channels to reach out about any issues in town as well.
Definitely. And reach out to Meet Up with MeLa, subscribe, follow anyway, in whatever way you want to. Again, we're on Spotify and other podcast platforms as well as YouTube. And cheers to you, Hillary, as my Meet Up with MeLa glass here. And again, like I said, as far as women go, let us know them, let us be them, and let us raise them. So cheers and thank you so much. And good luck with everything moving forward. And please be in touch.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for coming on our show. Definitely appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Thanks, you too.